The message arrived at Kepler Station on a quiet Tuesday morning. Director Zethkalar of the Vortani Empire was reviewing trade reports when his assistant rushed into his office with wide eyes. "Sir, we have received an unusual transmission," the young Vortani said, his voice shaking slightly. "It's from an unknown species." Zethkalar looked up from his holographic displays with mild interest. New species contacted the Galactic Council every few months, usually primitive civilizations that had just discovered radio waves or basic spaceflight. Most became protected worlds under Council guidance. "What do they call themselves?" he asked, already reaching for the standard first contact protocols. "Humans, sir. They claim to be from a system they call Sol 3, which our charts designate as Earth." The director pulled up the star charts. Sol 3 was a small yellow star in the Outer Rim territories, barely worthy of notice. Preliminary scans from decades ago had shown a single inhabited world with primitive technology. "What do they want?" Zethkalar asked. "They request formal diplomatic contact, sir. They want to present their credentials for council membership." Zethkalar almost laughed. A species that had barely achieved spaceflight wanted to join the council as equals? The arrogance was amusing, but protocols were protocols. Every sapient species deserved a hearing, regardless of how delusional their requests might be. "Schedule them for a standard first contact meeting," he said. "Inform them they may send a diplomatic vessel to Kepler Station." Far across the galaxy, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Leviathan, watching the stars streak past through the massive viewscreen. The ship was humanity's pride, 4 kilometers of advanced metal and technology that represented the best of human engineering. "Captain, we're receiving new orders from Earth Command," reported Lieutenant Mary Foster from the communication station. Morrison walked over to review the message. Admiral Lisa Carter's face appeared on his personal display, her expression serious but confident. "Jake, you're being assigned to escort our diplomatic mission to the Galactic Council. The UES Harmony will carry Ambassador Peter Knox and his team to their first meeting. Your job is to make sure they arrive safely and to represent human military capability." Morrison nodded. The Leviathan had been built for exactly this kind of mission. While humanity had developed faster than light travel only recently, their military technology had advanced rapidly. The ship around him was proof of that progress. "Understood, Admiral. What should we expect from these aliens?" "Unknown, Captain. This is humanity's first contact with a galactic civilization. Stay alert and be ready for anything." The transmission ended and Morrison turned to his crew. The bridge buzzed with quiet activity as officers prepared for their historic mission. "Set course for the rendezvous point," Morrison ordered. "We're about to make history." 3 days later, the UES Harmony joined the Leviathan in space. The diplomatic vessel was much smaller than the warship, designed for comfort and impressive appearance rather than combat. Ambassador Peter Knox, a veteran diplomat with silver hair and calm eyes, reviewed his briefing materials one final time. Dr. Amanda Rivers, the mission's chief science officer, sat across from him in the ship's conference room. Her job was to analyze alien technology and assess their scientific capabilities. "What do we know about the Council?" Knox asked. "Not much," Rivers admitted. "They claim to represent over 800 species across thousands of star systems. Their technology appears advanced, but we won't know how advanced until we see it firsthand." Colonel Ryan Hayes, their military liaison, looked up from his tactical reports. "Our intelligence suggests they're peaceful, but they've been the dominant power in this region for centuries. They might not take kindly to newcomers." Knox nodded thoughtfully. Humanity had developed in isolation, unaware that a vast galactic civilization existed beyond their solar system. Now they were about to announce themselves to that civilization and request equal treatment. "Remember," Knox said, "we're not asking for their protection or guidance. We're asking for recognition as equals. That might surprise them." The journey to Kepler Station took 2 weeks. As they traveled, the human ships encountered their first signs of alien presence. Automated beacons marked shipping lanes and territorial boundaries. Occasional alien vessels passed in the distance, their designs unlike anything in human experience. Captain Morrison kept the Leviathan's sensors active, gathering information about alien technology. The ship's artificial intelligence systems analyzed every signal and energy reading, building a database of alien capabilities. "Their propulsion systems are efficient," reported Chief Engineer Tom Brady, "but they seem to rely heavily on energy-based technology. Plasma drives, electromagnetic shields, directed energy weapons. Morrison filed that information away. Human technology had developed differently, focusing on kinetic weapons and barrier systems that deflected energy rather than absorbing it. When Kepler Station finally appeared on their screens, both crews fell silent. The structure was enormous, a ring-shaped city floating in space. Ships from dozens of different species moved in and out of docking bays like insects around a hive. "Request permission to dock," Morrison ordered. The response came in heavily accented but understandable English. "Human vessels, you are cleared for diplomatic docking bay 7. Escort ships will guide you in." 12 sleek alien destroyers emerged from the station, taking positions around the human ships. Morrison recognized the formation as both escort and guard detail. The aliens were being polite but cautious. As they docked, Ambassador Knox prepared for the most important meeting in human history. Through the station's windows, he could see the vast diversity of alien life moving through the corridors. Some walked on 2 legs like humans, others floated or moved on multiple limbs. The galaxy was far stranger and more wonderful than humanity had imagined. "Ready, Ambassador?" Colonel Hayes asked. Knox straightened his formal diplomatic uniform and checked his briefing materials one last time. Humanity's future might depend on the next few hours. "Let's go introduce ourselves to the galaxy," he said. The airlock opened, revealing their first alien contact team. The creatures were tall and thin with blue-tinted skin and large dark eyes. They wore elaborate robes that seemed to shift color in the station's artificial light. "Welcome to Kepler Station," the lead alien said in careful English. "I am Diplomatic Aide Veltar. The Council is prepared to meet with your delegation." Knox stepped forward with a confident smile. "Thank you for receiving us. I'm Ambassador Peter Knox, representing the United Earth Government. We're honored to be here." As they walked through the station's corridors, Knox couldn't help but notice the casual dismissal in the aliens' behavior. They were being polite, but it was the politeness shown to children or primitives. The aliens clearly expected this to be a routine meeting with another backward species seeking Council protection. Knox exchanged glances with Dr. Rivers and Colonel Hayes. They had all noticed the same thing. The Council had no idea what humanity was truly capable of. That ignorance might work to their advantage, or it might make the coming negotiations much more difficult. Either way, humanity was about to announce itself to the galaxy. The age of human isolation was ending, and their future among the stars was about to begin. The Council chamber was a sight that took Ambassador Knox's breath away. The circular room stretched hundreds of meters across, with seating for delegates from hundreds of different species. Holographic displays showed star maps covering vast sections of the galaxy, marking territories controlled by various council members. Knox and his team were escorted to a small waiting area off to the side, clearly not the main delegation seats. Dr. Rivers noticed the obvious slight but said nothing. Colonel Hayes made mental notes about security arrangements and the number of guards present. Director Zeth Kalar called the session to order from his elevated position at the center of the chamber. The Vortani was impressive, standing nearly 3 meters tall with golden skin that seemed to shimmer under the chamber's lights. "We welcome the delegation from the species known as humans," Zeth Kalar announced, his voice carrying easily through the vast space. "It is our pleasure to offer guidance to another young species taking their first steps into galactic civilization." Admiral Crixnall of the Stellar Dominion leaned forward in his seat. The reptilian alien scales were dark green, and his eyes held the cold calculation of a career military officer. "Our initial scans show these humans possess basic fusion technology and primitive defensive systems. Standard protection protocols should suffice." Knox stood up, maintaining his diplomatic composure despite the condescending tone. "Thank you for receiving us, Director Zeth Kalar. However, I believe there may be some misunderstanding about our intentions." A ripple of what might have been amusement passed through the chamber. Several aliens exchanged glances that clearly said they were dealing with another delusional primitive species. "Please, Ambassador Knox," Zeth Kalar said with patience that seemed forced, "present your world situation so we may determine the appropriate level of council support." Knox activated his portable display, showing images of Earth and human space installations. "Humanity controls our home system and has established colonies in 7 nearby star systems. We have developed faster-than-light travel, advanced manufacturing capabilities, and defensive technologies. We request full council membership with equal voting rights and territorial recognition. The chamber fell silent for a moment, then erupted in sounds that Knox's translator identified as laughter. Admiral Crixnall was particularly amused, his scales rippling with mirth. "Ambassador," Zeth Kalar said when the noise died down, "perhaps you don't understand the nature of council membership. Full membership is reserved for species that have demonstrated their ability to contribute meaningfully to galactic civilization. We're prepared to offer protected species status, which will provide your world with security and gradual technological advancement under our guidance," Colonel Hayes whispered to Knox. "They think we're jokes." Dr. Rivers was studying the alien technology around them with scientific interest. The energy readings she was detecting were impressive but not overwhelming. Human technology operated on different principles, but that didn't necessarily mean it was inferior. "We appreciate the Council's generous offer," Knox replied diplomatically, "but humanity believes we can contribute as equals rather than as protected subjects. Perhaps a demonstration of our capabilities would be helpful." Intelligence Chief Vex Mora of the Hegemony spoke for the first time. The insect-like alien's compound eyes glittered as she consulted her data displays. "Our analysis indicates human space forces consist of a single primitive warship escorting your diplomatic vessel. Their weapons appear to be kinetic-based, a technology most species abandon once they develop proper energy weapons." Admiral Crixnall's interest was piqued. "A demonstration might indeed be educational, standard procedure for species that overestimate their military capabilities." Knox felt a chill. This was exactly what he had hoped to avoid. But the alien's dismissive attitude left few options. He activated his communicator to contact Captain Morrison aboard the Leviathan. "Captain, the Council is requesting a military demonstration. Are you prepared for that?" Morrison's voice came back steady and confident. "Copy that, Ambassador." Admiral Carter's instructions were very specific about educational opportunities. "We're ready when you are." Zeth Kalar consulted with his military advisors before addressing the chamber. "Very well. Admiral Crixnall will conduct a standard capability assessment with the human vessel. This should help clarify the appropriate relationship between humanity and the Council." Knox tried one more diplomatic approach. "Director, I want to emphasize that this demonstration should be conducted with appropriate caution. Human military doctrine may be different from what you're expecting." More sounds of alien amusement filled the chamber. Clearly, the Council delegates found the idea of humans posing any real challenge to be highly entertaining. Admiral Crixnall stood, his impressive bulk commanding attention. "Ambassador Knox, I appreciate your concern, but the Stellar Dominion has conducted these assessments hundreds of times. We will use minimal force to demonstrate the reality of your situation." Outside the station, Captain Morrison watched the Council battle group assemble. 30 ships moved into formation around the designated testing area, led by a massive dreadnought that dwarfed most of the other vessels. "Impressive fleet," commented Lieutenant Foster from her position at the sensor station. "Size isn't everything," Morrison replied. "What do our scans tell us about their capabilities?" Chief Engineer Brady consulted his displays. "Electromagnetic shields, plasma-based weapons, fusion power cores. Advanced technology but operating on familiar principles. Their biggest advantage is numbers." Morrison opened a channel to Admiral Carter on Earth. "Admiral, the Council wants a demonstration. 30 ships including a dreadnought-class vessel. Rules of engagement?" Carter's image appeared on his screen, her expression serious. "Jake, humanity's entire future may depend on the next hour. Show them what human engineering can do, but remember we want allies, not enemies. Disable, don't destroy." "Understood, Admiral." Morrison turned to his crew. The bridge was calm. Officers focused on their duties with the quiet confidence that came from extensive training and superior technology. "All stations, prepare for combat operations. Remember, this is humanity's introduction to galactic civilization. Let's make a good impression." The Leviathan moved away from the station toward the testing area, its massive bulk impressive even compared to the alien vessels. The ship's dark hull absorbed light rather than reflecting it, giving it an ominous appearance that had not gone unnoticed by the alien observers. Admiral Crixnall's voice came over the communication channel. "Human vessel, prepare for standard capability assessment. We will begin with minimal weapons fire to test your defensive systems." Morrison checked his tactical displays one more time. The alien ships were arranged in a traditional formation, optimized for energy weapons and electromagnetic warfare. Their positioning showed centuries of experience but also revealed assumptions about how space combat worked. All weapon systems online, reported Weapons Officer Kevin Stone. Kinetic barriers at full strength. Target acquisition complete. Added Tactical Officer Sarah Price. All hostile vessels locked and tracked. Morrison took a deep breath. Humanity had developed in isolation, forced to solve military problems with their own unique solutions. They were about to discover whether those solutions were superior to thousands of years of alien military evolution. Signal the council that we're ready to begin, Morrison ordered. Back in the council chamber, hundreds of alien delegates watched the tactical displays with interest. Most expected the demonstration to be over quickly, with the primitive human ship disabled by the first weapons exchange. Knox, Rivers, and Hayes watched the screens with growing tension. Everything humanity had worked for depended on the next few minutes. Beginning assessment, Admiral Crixnell announced. The Council fleet opened fire. 30 streams of brilliant energy lanced across space toward the Leviathan. Plasma bolts and laser beams that could have destroyed entire cities struck the human warship's defensive barriers. The Council delegates watched their displays with confident satisfaction, expecting to see the primitive vessel's shields collapse immediately. Instead, the energy weapons simply vanished. The Leviathan's kinetic barriers deflected every beam and bolt, as if they were nothing more than flashlight beams. The massive human ship continued forward without slowing, apparently undamaged. Admiral Crixnell stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Increase power to maximum. All ships full weapons barrage. The second attack was devastating. Energy equivalent to small suns poured toward the human vessel. The space around the Leviathan lit up like a miniature star as every council ship fired at once. Again, the energy simply disappeared against the human barriers. Not absorbed, not overloaded, just gone. Captain Morrison watched the light show with professional interest. Their weapons are impressive, he commented to his crew, but they're all energy-based. Our barriers were designed specifically to counter energy weapons. In the council chamber, confused murmurs arose from the alien delegates. Dr. Rivers couldn't help but smile as she watched their displays show impossible readings. The aliens had never encountered defensive technology that worked on kinetic, rather than electromagnetic principles. How are they doing that? Demanded Intelligence Chief Vex Mora, her compound eyes reflecting her confusion. Knox decided this was the moment for honesty. Our defensive barriers allow physical matter to pass through while deflecting energy. It's a different approach to the same problem. Admiral Crixnell's voice crackled over the communication channel, anger replacing his earlier confidence. Impossible. No known technology can simply ignore directed energy weapons. Morrison opened a channel to the Council fleet. Admiral Crixnell, perhaps it's time we demonstrated human offensive capabilities. I recommend your ships power down their weapons and prepare to be disabled. The reptilian admiral's response was immediate and furious. You dare threaten Council forces? All ships ramming speed. Destroy that vessel. Morrison sighed. He had hoped to avoid this level of demonstration, but the aliens seemed determined to learn the hard way. Kevin, you're cleared to engage. Minimum necessary force. Weapons Officer Kevin Stone had been waiting for this moment. Aye, sir. Selecting targets now. The Leviathan's primary weapons were railguns, massive electromagnetic accelerators that fired tungsten slugs at a significant fraction of light speed. The projectiles were guided by artificial intelligence systems that could track thousands of targets simultaneously, while calculating trajectory, target movement, and optimal impact points. Firing, Stone announced. 6 tungsten slugs, each weighing several tons, streaked across space faster than the alien sensors could track. The Council ship's electromagnetic shields, designed to stop energy weapons, offered no protection against physical projectiles moving at such incredible velocities. The slugs punched through the alien shields as if they didn't exist. Each projectile struck its target with devastating precision, crippling engine sections without causing hull breaches or casualties. 6 Council ships went dead in space, their propulsion systems destroyed but their crews unharmed. The Council chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates who had been amused by human pretensions now stared at their displays in shock and growing fear. 6 advanced warships had been disabled in seconds by weapons that their shields couldn't even detect. Impossible, Zethkalar whispered, his golden skin paling. How did they penetrate our shields? Colonel Hayes stepped forward with military precision. Director, our kinetic weapons operate on different principles than your energy-based systems. Your shields are designed to stop plasma and laser weapons, not physical projectiles. Admiral Crixnell's fleet was in disarray. Ships scattered as their commanders realized their weapons were useless while the human vessel could destroy them at will. The massive dreadnought Stellar Fist tried to close range, hoping to ram the human ship. Morrison watched the alien vessel approach with calm professionalism. Sarah, disable their engines. Try not to damage life support. Tactical Officer Sarah Price locked onto the dreadnought's massive engine array. Target acquired, firing. 4 more tungsten slugs launched from the Leviathan's secondary batteries. They struck the Stellar Fist's propulsion system with surgical precision, turning the mighty dreadnought into a drifting hulk. Emergency lights flickered across its hull as damage control teams scrambled to prevent further systems failures. The remaining council ships stopped their attack, floating helplessly as their commanders realized the futility of their situation. Admiral Crixnell's voice came over the communication channel, shaken and defeated. Human vessel, we surrender. Cease fire, we surrender. Morrison felt no satisfaction in the victory. This had been necessary to establish human credibility, but he had hoped for a more peaceful first impression. All council ships, power down your weapons, and maintain current positions. This demonstration is concluded. In the council chamber, stunned silence had replaced the earlier amusement. Hundreds of alien delegates stared at tactical displays that showed their most advanced fleet, defeated by a single human warship. The implications were terrifying. Intelligence Chief Vex Mora was the first to speak, her voice barely above a whisper. They defeated 30 ships without taking any damage. Their defensive technology makes our weapons useless, while their kinetic weapons penetrate our shields as if they don't exist. Director Zethkalar slumped in his chair, the weight of the situation crushing down on him. For thousands of years, the Council had been the dominant military power in their region of the galaxy. They had grown complacent, assuming their technological superiority was absolute. How many ships do they have? He asked Knox, dreading the answer. Knox consulted his datapad, choosing his words carefully. The Leviathan is our newest design, but certainly not our only vessel. Humanity takes the defense of our territory very seriously. Dr. Rivers added scientific context to the demonstration. Our weapons technology developed along different lines than yours. While you focused on energy-based systems, we continued to refine kinetic weapons and defensive barriers. Neither approach is necessarily superior, but they create significant tactical advantages when facing an unprepared opponent. Admiral Crixnell's image appeared on the main display, his scaled face showing the humiliation of defeat. Human Commander, my fleet is at your mercy. What are your intentions? Morrison's response was broadcast to both the fleet and the council chamber. Admiral, this was a demonstration, not an act of war. Your crews are unharmed and your ships can be repaired. We have no hostile intentions toward the council or its members. The relief in the chamber was palpable, but it was mixed with a new emotion that most council species hadn't felt in centuries. Fear. Fear of a species that could casually defeat their finest military forces while claiming peaceful intentions. Knox saw the shift in attitudes and pressed his advantage. Director Zethkalar, I believe this demonstration has clarified humanity's capabilities. We're prepared to discuss meaningful partnership between our peoples. Zethkalar looked around the chamber at his fellow delegates. The arrogance and dismissiveness were gone, replaced by nervous uncertainty and the dawning realization that the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted dramatically. Ambassador Knox, he said slowly, perhaps we should schedule more detailed negotiations. It seems we have underestimated humanity's potential contribution to the Council. Knox smiled diplomatically, but inside he felt a mixture of relief and concern. They had established human credibility, but they had also announced to the galaxy that humanity possessed military capabilities that could threaten established powers. The easy part was over. Now they had to figure out how to build a peaceful relationship with aliens who had good reason to fear human military technology. Outside the station, the Leviathan maintained its position among the disabled council ships, a stark reminder that the galaxy would never be the same. Emergency signals flashed across Council space as news of the demonstration spread. Within hours, every major government in the galaxy knew that a previously unknown species had defeated a full Council battle group without taking damage. Panic meetings convened on 100 worlds as military leaders tried to understand the implications. Director Zeth Kalar had not slept in 2 days. His office was filled with angry delegates demanding action, fearful military commanders requesting fleet movements, and intelligence reports that painted an increasingly alarming picture of human capabilities. "The humans have been monitoring our communications," Intelligence Chief Vexamora reported, her compound eyes reflecting exhaustion. "Their electronic warfare capabilities are far more advanced than we initially assessed. They know our fleet positions, our communication protocols, and possibly our defensive arrangements." Admiral Crixnall, attending the meeting via hologram from his damaged flagship, looked like a broken man. "Director, with respect, our entire military doctrine is obsolete. Our shields can't stop their weapons, our weapons can't penetrate their defenses. If they have more ships like that Leviathan, how many more?" Zethkalar demanded. The question hung in the air like a death sentence. No one knew the answer, and the humans weren't volunteering the information. Ambassador Knox had been given luxury quarters aboard Kepler Station, a significant upgrade from the minor waiting room they had started in. The change in treatment was obvious but unsurprising. Fear had a way of improving diplomatic courtesy. Dr. Rivers was in her element, finally able to examine alien technology up close. The Council's invitation to share scientific knowledge was clearly motivated by desperate curiosity about human capabilities, but she was learning as much as she revealed. "Their quantum computing is impressive," she told Knox during their daily briefing, "but they never developed artificial intelligence beyond basic automation. They're afraid of creating truly independent AI systems." Colonel Hayes was reviewing security reports from the station. "The aliens are scared, Ambassador. I've seen this before in first contact situations. They're trying to figure out if we're a threat they need to eliminate or an ally they need to court." Knox nodded grimly, "which makes our next moves critical. We need to convince them we're potential partners, not conquerors." A soft chime indicated an incoming communication. Admiral Lisa Carter's image appeared on the display, broadcasting from the command ship UES Sovereign. "Ambassador, I'm transmitting from just outside Council space with the Second Fleet. How are negotiations proceeding?" Knox felt a mixture of relief and concern. The arrival of additional human forces would strengthen their position, but might also escalate alien fears. "Slowly, Admiral. The Council is reassessing their position after Captain Morrison's demonstration. They're still processing the implications." Carter nodded. "Jake did good work out there. Minimal casualties, maximum educational value. But we're receiving intelligence reports about Council fleet movements. Several species are mobilizing their forces." Dr. Rivers looked up from her scientific displays with concern. "Admiral, are they planning to attack us?" "Unknown," Carter replied. "But we're prepared for that possibility. The Sovereign and 8 additional Titan-class warships are standing by. If the Council decides to test human resolve with overwhelming numbers, they'll discover that the Leviathan was just the beginning." The transmission ended, leaving Knox with difficult choices. Revealing the extent of human military strength might prevent a war, but it could also trigger the exact conflict they were trying to avoid. 3 hours later, Knox was summoned to an emergency council session. The chamber buzzed with nervous energy as delegates filed in, many wearing what his translator identified as formal military regalia. Director Zethkalar looked older than he had days before, the stress of the situation clearly weighing on him. "Ambassador Knox, the Council requires clarification about human intentions and capabilities." Knox took his position at the speaker's podium, noting that he was now in the center of the chamber, rather than relegated to a side area. Fear definitely improved seating arrangements. "Director, humanity's intentions remain unchanged. We seek peaceful coexistence and mutually beneficial relationships with Council species." "What about your military capabilities?" demanded General Thakmor of the hegemony, his insectoid features twisted with aggression. "How many warships does humanity possess?" Knox chose his words carefully. "General, we maintain sufficient forces to defend our territory and allies. Beyond that, specific numbers seem less important than demonstrating our peaceful intentions." Admiral Crixnall's hologram flickered as he leaned forward. "Ambassador, my fleet was defeated by a single vessel. The Council needs to know if humanity poses an existential threat to our civilization. The chamber fell silent. This was the moment Knox had been preparing for since the mission began. Humanity's entire future relationship with galactic civilization depended on his next words. Admiral, the Leviathan represents our latest military technology, but it is not unique. Humanity has learned that peace requires strength, and we have built accordingly. However, we prefer cooperation to conflict. Intelligence Chief Vex Mora consulted her displays before speaking. Our long-range sensors have detected additional human vessels entering Council space. Large ships, similar energy signatures to your Leviathan. Knox saw no point in denying what the aliens could detect for themselves. Admiral Carter and the Second Fleet have arrived to support our diplomatic mission. 8 additional vessels, all equipped with the same technology you witnessed. The chamber erupted in panicked voices. 9 human warships, each capable of defeating entire Council fleets. The mathematics of the situation were terrifying. Director Zeth Kalar called for order, but his voice lacked its usual authority. Ambassador, 9 vessels could devastate our combined fleets. What assurance can you give that humanity won't use this advantage to conquer Council space? Knox activated his personal display, showing images of human colonies and space installations. Director, humanity controls 7 star systems with a total population of 12 billion people. The Council represents over 800 species across thousands of worlds. We're not conquerors seeking empire. We're explorers seeking our place in galactic civilization. Dr. Rivers stepped forward with scientific data. Our analysis shows that human and Council technologies complement each other. Your energy manipulation techniques could revolutionize our power systems, while our artificial intelligence and kinetic technologies could enhance your capabilities. Cooperation benefits everyone. Colonel Hayes added military perspective. Director, history shows that lasting peace comes from mutual respect, not mutual destruction. Humanity's strength doesn't threaten Council security if we share common interests. But the damage was done. The revelation that 9 human warships were approaching Council space had triggered exactly the fear reaction Knox had hoped to avoid. General Thakmore stood, his aggressive posture clear. The hegemony cannot accept this threat to galactic security. I propose immediate military action before the human fleet reaches full strength. Several other military delegates voiced agreement. Knox realized with growing alarm that fear was pushing the Council toward exactly the conflict everyone wanted to avoid. Admiral Crixnell's image suddenly sharpened as he received new information. Director, my sensors show the human fleet has just entered the outer system. They're requesting permission to dock with Kepler Station. The chamber exploded in chaos. Delegates shouted over each other while military commanders demanded immediate action. Knox watched humanity's first diplomatic contact spiral toward disaster. Director Zeth Kalar struggled to maintain order as the Council faced its greatest crisis in centuries. Unknown aliens with superior military technology were approaching their most important station, and panic was replacing rational thought. Knox activated his emergency communicator to contact Admiral Carter. Admiral, the situation here is deteriorating rapidly. The Council is considering military action against our fleet. Carter's response was immediate and professional. Copy that, Ambassador. All human vessels are maintaining peaceful formations, but we're prepared to defend ourselves if attacked. Recommend you expedite diplomatic solutions. Knox closed the channel and looked around the chaotic chamber. Humanity had demonstrated their strength, but strength without trust could lead to tragedy. The next few hours would determine whether first contact became the foundation for galactic peace or the beginning of an interstellar war. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the UES Sovereign, watching the massive structure of Kepler Station grow larger on her view screen. 8 other Titan-class warships flanked her vessel in a formation designed to look impressive, but non-threatening. The delicate balance between showing strength and avoiding provocation required careful navigation. Admiral, we're receiving multiple targeting locks from Council defense platforms, reported Commander Alex Morgan from the tactical station. 17 separate weapon systems are tracking our approach. Carter nodded calmly. Maintain course and speed. Do not activate defensive systems unless fired upon. We're here for diplomacy, not war. Inside the Council chamber, the debate had reached a fever pitch. Director Zeth Kalar watched helplessly as centuries of diplomatic protocol crumbled under the weight of fear and military posturing. General Tackmore was shouting over other delegates. 9 alien warships approach our most important station and we debate. This is an invasion force! The humans have made no hostile moves, countered Diplomat Nelvaria of the Peaceful Alliance. They requested permission to dock and are following our traffic control instructions. Ambassador Knox tried once more to calm the situation. Director, I propose a simple solution. Allow Admiral Carter to address the Council directly. Let her explain human intentions in her own words. Admiral Crixenol's damaged hologram flickered as he spoke from his disabled flagship. I've spent my career fighting alien threats, but I've never encountered species that disabled my fleet while claiming peaceful intentions. Perhaps we should listen before we act. The weight of that statement from the Council's most respected military commander shifted the mood in the chamber. If Crixenol, who had suffered direct defeat at human hands, was counseling caution, perhaps violence wasn't the only option. Director Zethkalar called for order. The Council will hear from the human fleet commander. All ships will maintain current positions while negotiations continue. 30 minutes later, Admiral Carter walked into the Council chamber wearing her formal dress uniform. The room fell silent as hundreds of alien delegates got their first close look at another human. She moved with military precision but without aggressive intent, projecting confidence rather than hostility. Director Zethkalar, members of the Galactic Council, I am Admiral Lisa Carter of the United Earth Defense Force. I come bearing an offer of friendship and alliance. She activated a portable display showing images of human space installations and fleet positions. Humanity currently maintains 47 Titan-class warships across our territorial space. These vessels exist to defend our colonies and trade routes, not to threaten our neighbors. The number hit the chamber like a physical blow. 47 ships like the Leviathan meant humanity possessed firepower that could devastate the entire Council military if used aggressively. Intelligence Chief Vex Mora was the first to find her voice. Admiral, your fleet could conquer half the galaxy with such forces. Why should we believe your peaceful intentions? Carter's response was direct and honest. Because conquest serves no purpose for humanity. We're explorers and builders, not conquerors. Our technology developed to protect ourselves during our isolated development, not to dominate others. Dr. Rivers stepped forward with scientific data. Admiral Carter brings proposals for technological exchange programs. Human artificial intelligence techniques combined with Council energy manipulation could revolutionize both our civilizations. Colonel Hayes added practical considerations. Military cooperation could benefit everyone. Human kinetic weapons and Council energy systems would create defensive capabilities neither could achieve alone. General Tackmore remained skeptical. Pretty words, Admiral, but actions matter more than promises. What guarantees can you offer? Carter had prepared for this question. General, I propose a practical demonstration of human intentions. We'll establish joint patrol units using both human and Council vessels. Our ships will operate under combined command structures, proving that we see you as partners, not subjects. The suggestion was revolutionary. Joint military operations required unprecedented trust and cooperation between species that had met only days before. Director Zethkalar consulted with his advisors before responding. Admiral, such arrangements would require formal treaties and extensive negotiations. The Council cannot make such decisions hastily. Understood, Director. However, I can offer an immediate gesture of good faith. Carter activated her communicator. All human vessels, this is Admiral Carter. Stand down from alert status and power down weapon systems. Maintain defensive barriers only. The gesture was risky but effective. By disabling their weapons while surrounded by potentially hostile forces, the humans demonstrated trust that couldn't be faked. Ambassador Knox seized the moment. Director, humanity proposes a formal alliance treaty. Full Council membership for Earth, recognition of human territorial claims, and establishment of mutual defense agreements. In exchange, we offer technological cooperation and military partnership. The chamber buzzed with quiet conversations as delegates conferred among themselves. The political calculations were complex, but the military realities were simple. Humanity possessed overwhelming force but was offering partnership instead of demanding submission. Admiral Crixenol's hologram stabilized as he spoke with quiet authority. Director, I've fought many battles in service to the Council. I know the difference between conquerors and protectors. These humans could have destroyed my fleet, but they chose to disable rather than kill. That choice tells me more about their character than any words. Dr. Rivers added scientific perspective. The technological exchange alone would benefit every council species. Human AI development, quantum computing advances, and material science represent centuries of progress that could be shared. Intelligence Chief Veximora consulted her data displays. Our analysis confirms that human territorial claims don't conflict with any existing council holdings. They're asking for recognition of what they already control, not expansion into our space. Director Zethkalar looked around the chamber, reading the mood of his fellow delegates. Fear was being replaced by cautious optimism, as the aliens realized they were being offered partnership by the strongest military force they had ever encountered. Admiral Carter, Ambassador Knox, the Council is prepared to begin formal negotiations for a comprehensive alliance treaty. However, such agreements require extensive discussion and careful consideration. Carter nodded. We understand, Director. Captain Morrison will remain with the Leviathan to provide security for ongoing negotiations. The remainder of the fleet will return to human space to avoid any appearance of intimidation. The gesture was appreciated but unnecessary. The demonstration of human military capabilities had already made its point. The Council now understood that humanity could be either their greatest ally or their most dangerous enemy. 3 months later, Ambassador Knox stood in the same council chamber, wearing formal diplomatic robes that marked him as Earth's permanent representative. The Treaty of Kepler Station had been signed by all parties, establishing humanity as the Council's newest full member with unprecedented rights and responsibilities. Captain Morrison had been promoted to Admiral and given command of the new Joint Defense Initiative, combining human and council forces into integrated fleet units. The first mixed crews were already training together, learning to operate ships designed with both human and alien technology. Dr. Rivers had established the Interspecies Research Institute, bringing together scientists from dozens of worlds to pursue collaborative projects that neither species could have achieved alone. The first results were already showing promise in energy storage, defensive systems, and faster-than-light communication. Colonel Hayes was overseeing the integration of human and council military doctrines, creating tactical systems that combined the best of both approaches. The early joint patrols had been remarkably successful, with mixed crews proving more effective than either species operating alone. Director Zethkalar approached Knox after the formal session ended. Ambassador, I must admit that first contact didn't proceed as any of us expected. Knox smiled. Director, humanity learned long ago that the universe rarely matches our expectations. The key is adapting to new realities rather than fighting them. Indeed, your species has taught the Council valuable lessons about assumptions and preparedness. We won't make the same mistakes again. Knox looked out through the station's massive windows at the mixed fleet of human and council vessels patrolling nearby space. Ships that had been enemies weeks ago now flew together as allies, their crews working toward common goals. Director, this is just the beginning. Humanity is honored to join the galactic community, and we're excited to see what we can accomplish together. Outside the station, the Leviathan led a patrol formation of human and alien vessels through the shipping lanes. On the bridge, Admiral Morrison worked alongside council officers whose species had been unknown to humanity months before. Admiral, long-range sensors show pirate activity in the Vega sector, reported his Vortani tactical officer. Sub-Commander Kelnara Morrison consulted the tactical displays. Alert all units. Standard response protocol for piracy suppression.